Hi kids! Today we're going to read a book called Harvesting Friends by Kathleen Contreras and illustrated by Gary Undercuffler. An illustrator is the one who draws the pictures. The author is the one who writes the words. Let's begin. Let's see what this book is about. Harvesting Friends. Oops. Oh, yep, that was the right page. Ha ha ha. Alrighty. Lupe loved her family's salsa garden with its tomatoes, chili peppers, onions, garlic, and cilantro. Her mother cooked, roasted, chopped, and grinded everything together to make their chunky salsa to eat with salty chips and tacos. In the spring, Lupe and her family dug into their rich soil to plant the seeds and tiny plants. They wrote each plant's name on a popsicle stick. This one right here says cilantro. She's got lettuce and peppers over here. Looks like they're gonna plant carrots. This is peppers right there. I wonder what else they'll plant in their garden. All summer, Lupe and her family watered and fed and weeded the garden. Weeding means to pull out little plants that don't belong in your garden. If you have weeds in your garden, they'll strangle out your vegetable plants and it will keep your vegetable plants from not growing. So whenever you have a garden, whether it's a flower garden or a vegetable garden, you need to weed out the plants you don't want there. But one summer day, all the big red tomatoes were gone. Lupe looked in between the branches, but no luck. The biggest, juiciest tomatoes had disappeared. Oh no, I wonder what happened to those big juicy tomatoes. Mama, the big tomatoes are all gone. They were almost ready to be picked, Lupe said as she ran into the house. Are you sure? Said Mama as they hurried outside to investigate. I wonder what happened, said Lupe, looking underneath the tangled bushes. Tangled means when things are intertwined together. Sometimes if you're using yarn can get all tangled up and knotted and you have to undo the knots or untangle it. So tomato plants, their vines and leaves and things, they get all tangled up together. How would you feel if all of your big ripe tomatoes had disappeared in your garden? Lupe saw a small necklace. Oh, look, it was right there. With a gold medal on the ground. She picked it up and gave it to Mama. Who could have dropped it, Mama? She asked. I'm not sure, but I think someone left it here on purpose, Mama said, caressing the pretty medal. Why do you think somebody would leave a necklace at the vegetable garden on purpose? I wonder why Mama thinks that they left it there on purpose. Do you think they left it there on purpose? Or do you think that they dropped it by accident? Let's find out. 2 weeks later, when Lupe walked into the garden, she saw a boy crouching on his knees over the tomato plants with a couple of big tomatoes beside him. He was reaching deep to pick the biggest ones. "What are you doing?" shouted Lupe, surprising him. He was startled and he started to run, but tripped on the rake and he fell on the tomatoes and the red juice splashed all over him. "Wait, wait, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you," said Lupe. Lupe recognized Anthony, the new boy in school. "Why are you taking our tomatoes?" she asked. "Well, we don't have much money, and the tomatoes look so good, and I left my gold necklace here in exchange for the tomatoes," he said. "My grandmother gave it to me when we left Mexico. It's very valuable. I figured it would be a fair trade." Suddenly, Lupe had an idea. "If you help me with the garden, I'll give you back your necklace and some tomatoes. Deal?" "Deal," said Anthony, all ready to pick up the rake and get ready to work. So it looks like Anthony did leave his necklace there on purpose for payment for the tomatoes that he took earlier. Anthony started weeding, and Lupe went inside to tell her mother what had happened. Later, Mama invited Anthony to eat lunch, and she gave him some tomatoes and a jar of salsa to take home. She placed the jar in a bag and said, "Bread that is shared tastes better." "Mama, you forgot something," said Lupe, giving the necklace back to Anthony. No, no. You keep it until the work is done," he said. Lupe and Anthony began to become friends. Over the summer, they weeded and watered and picked tomatoes, onions, chilies, and cilantro. They even planted corn and lettuce. Their mother also became friends, and they shared the garden's harvest. Almost 2 months later, the growing season ended. Lupe and Anthony composted the plants, leaves and stems, and recycled all the plant nutrients back into the soil. Composting is when you take all of the dead plant or rotted vegetables that didn't get picked or didn't need, and you till it and you munch it all the way back up into the soil. And as the winter hits and everything, those plants break down and it gives nutrients back to the soil, so that when they plant the garden next year, then the soil will be richer and will have more nutrients to give life to new plants. Lupe returned the gold necklace to Anthony, and he accepted it. Lupe had a great idea for next year's garden. "Let's ask our neighbors to help," said Lupe to her mother. "With everyone's help, it will be easier." When the spring arrived, they invited their neighbors to pitch in. Dozens of families brought money and tools and started working. Lupe and Anthony bought the seeds and the small vegetable plants with the donations. With everyone's help, they finished planting in 1 day. Two months later, the tomatoes grew in all shapes and sizes and colors. Some tomatoes were round, others were oval and pear-shaped. There were yellow and orange and red and even purple ones. Like a family, the community worked together, taking care of the young plants. A pair of brothers planted 2 kinds of peppers, fire red and green. A grandmother and her grandchildren grew bunches of fragrant herbs for cooking and healing. A father grew watermelon, which his son made into cool watermelon juice. 3 sisters grew squash, beans, and corn. America's first crops. The garden, like a colorful Mexican blanket, embraced everyone who worked on it. The garden grew and soon became more than a place where hunger was fed. It became a gathering place, like a kitchen, where everybody comes together to eat and share. They shared stories and offered gardening secrets. They even celebrated birthdays and special holidays. The new Amigos garden grew more than just plants. It grew friendship. The end. Well, thanks for coming and reading and listening to that book with me. I sure am glad to have you guys here. I love you. Mwah. Bye.